Hello, golf fanatics. Welcome back to Billy Ho Sports. Nice to have a week off to regroup and let the past PGA season sink in for us. The year of Scotty Scheffler, nothing less of amazing. I just thought it was funny. I went back and looked at his record. Aside from the 7 wins, we all know what happened. He played 19 events, which didn't seem like a lot to me, but he finished in the top 10 16 times, like tons of top fives. He only finished out the I think one of the most recent events when he was just a disaster, and then I think the U.S. Open was another one, but just amazing. So we put a bow on that season, and we're getting into 2025 season. Wow! So now we're going to head back out to where it all begins, Napa Valley Silverado Resort, for yet another in the revolving door of PGA Tour sponsors. We are now the Procore Championship. Procore is a software company that feeds construction companies that build stadiums and high rises and all that shit. So kind of interesting, but not really. Old Fortinet has doesn't have the cash to shell out. I think they had to dip down into the Corn Ferry Tour to sponsor their events. So anyway, we're going to fly over the course like we always do, and then we're going to jump over to Fantasy National, look at some stats. The DraftKings pricing just came out a little while ago, so the Billy Ho contest is live. So jump on in there. I want to try to get more people involved in it this year. Hopefully, we can get that price tag up there, and we can start getting a little bit better payoffs. Maybe we can even extend out to 5-way payouts. That'd be nice. So make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Always appreciate that. Smashing that like button helps spread the word. Comments more than welcome. Let's get started. Silverado Resort is a 7,123 short knocker course, par 72, Bermuda fairways, 2.5-inch bluegrass rough, not very penal. The greens run on average 5,400 square feet, pretty average. POA bent mix runs firm and fast. Silverado, as you can see, features a mix of tree line fairways, has lots of elevation changes, strategically placed bunkers, water hazards, all kinds of good stuff. Now, since the course was rerouted and lengthened, this has kind of favored more big hitting ball strikers, just grip it and rip it kind, not so much like accuracy guys like in the past, as you can see with the but good touch around the undulating greens. Like last year, Sahith Agala, we all know how he's just super hot, and sometimes he can be a little wayward with the driver, but when he's on his game, he's just dynamite. He's back to defend the title. And then, of course, you had back-to-back wins by Max Homa previous to that. And then you had randos like Cam Champ and Kevin Tway previous, but both of those guys are known as big hitters. So, and guys that can get hot with the putter, obviously with Cam Champ. There are plenty of risk reward holes for the aggressive players, particularly par fives. So looking at the course breakdown, you can see from the course breakdown, the front nine plays a little tougher, and that's largely due to the more undulating greens on the front nine than there is the back. So the putting's a little tougher. But also what you'll notice is, and what I noticed too, I don't really pay a super lot of attention, but I did this happen to notice this because the percentages are, you got 20%, but the par fives, just 42%. That's probably about average, but just 37%, 33% on the par fives, 36%, sub 40% birdie rates, 0% eagles, very low. This one's probably the easier 2.2%. So these par fives are not susceptible. It's really hard to get home in two. Let's put it that way, because of inaccurate driving and some of the narrower fairways, lots of dog legs on this golf course. Then you have like say the bogey percentages. You can see this is what struck me. The doubles are worse. Zero, I mean, just very, very little big numbers out there. 2.2. Just this is the toughest hole on the golf course, is par three. And so doubles are worse. That's basically the only hole that really has a big risk of that. And then you had like a few others, like the let's see which one. Oh, this 212-yard par three. So the par threes are fairly difficult on this one. And par fives are less birdieable, if that's a word. Little eagle rates, like I said. So, in my opinion, I think that's why the event hits mid-teen scores, is because there's little in the way of trouble as far as making worse than bogey and low bogey rates. So, when charting players for DFS, by the way, jump in that Billy Ho contest, sub to the channel, hit that like, all that good stuff. Appreciating you. Let's go over and look at a few of the models. All right. So model number one, this was kind of modified my old Fortinet, Safeway, whatever other tournament this used to be. And just strokes gained approach, driving distance, proximity from 200 plus for the guys that go for it. And first one that kind of stood out to me, I put them in order, even though pricing's out. I don't think they've uploaded it to Fantasy National. Shout out Moose and Fantasy National for kind of being my sponsor of the show. So Luke Clanton striking it quite well. We know how close he got to win, but he's in this particular model over the last 24 rounds, and I set it to 2 months so it wouldn't go back. So if you are a Fantasy National and you want to avoid getting stats from like way back, like we'll face this as we get further along into the fall swing. You will get stats from way last summer on some of these guys, and you don't want that because that's just doesn't really show recent form as well. So I always set my time frame to like 2 months so it doesn't throw me off there. But in the last 2 months, it's only 14 rounds of golf, but that's the equivalent of 3 tournaments. Luke Clanton, number one in a lot of categories, DK, ops gain. So he's probably going to be fairly popular. And we'll look at DraftKings pricing in here in just a second. Especially, I wanted to show you the up top guys. But the best thing is even though pricing wasn't out, the odds, DraftKings odds were, so you could sort. And this almost will be dead on balls with the pricing. So you'll probably have like 3 guys in the top tier here, and then Homa will be, see, Homa's 20-1, and I've got a comment on Homa in just a second. But basically what I do is I'm not going to put a whole lot of stock into course history, but what I will do, and this is over here, this is golf betting systems, little compy model, and this is just the past course history. And I don't put a lot of stock in course history because I don't think this course is necessarily, I mean, I'm sure it's nice to play it and have experience on it, but I don't think that matters in determining outcomes. I think the course is pretty cookie cutter, and tee to green wise, you can go out there and see it for the first time, and these guys are just good enough to go tee to green, and they're going to be pretty familiar as far as when they do the walkthroughs and the practice rounds and all that. So I think that's going to be enough to get them there. You can see a lot of guys with just very little, like SH Kim only had played it one time before, and then came in second. That's sometimes when I use this commie stats, is I'll go down here and just kind of see like just how many people debuted and maybe did well. They're like Tom Johnson made the cut, finished top 30 last year. I don't even know who that is. Not too many people actually fit in the bill, but you do see what I'm saying as far as that goes. Anybody can play well here, I think. So basically, what we want to do now is course history wise, I will probably do it for the cut makers. Like say a guy like Ches Reavy is a guy that would be 9 out of 10 cuts made here, but he's really not had anything better than maybe a third place finish. Top guys are obviously in play, and here's the pricing. Thigala, Clark, Homa up top, which kind of makes sense. But I will be paying attention to the ownership on Homa because, by God, he has been awful. Look at this strokes gained off the tee. Max goes as the driver goes. If you've watched Max when he wins golf tournaments, like if you go down here, let's see, Arnold Palmer, because he can be a little crazy with the driver, but you can see strokes gained off the tee. When he gains strokes, he plays well. Like this is the Fortinet. There's Farmers even off the tee. As long as he's at least gaining a few strokes and not hemorrhaging, he can play well because he's a good putter. He's great on the West Coast. We all know that. So he's a guy that might, I don't know, if he was playing well, he'd be the highest owned golfer by far because he's got the most win equity of all these top guys up here, in my opinion. Wyndham Clark, I guess you could put in that boat. And Thagala is last year's defending champion, and we know just how damn good he is. But then after you get past that, looking at the guys, I mean, Corey Connors has won a couple of times, but Luke Clanton's brand new. Matt McNeely, no wins. Min Woo, not playing well. Keith Mitchell, the putter's just been killing him, but he does have a little win equity. So does Todd, but not really big winners as far as that goes. These guys win one or two tournaments here or there. Harris English hasn't won in a while. Eric Cole's still waiting on that number to come through for him. But this is the fall swing, and this is the time for these guys to get that signature win to secure their tour cards and whatnot. So, something I did want to mention before is pay attention to the new Corn Ferry players. I went through and looked at the top 10, and I didn't see too many players that finished in the top 10 and earning their cards that are actually in this field. But the one that finished number one, Kiefer, right here is 7,400 on DraftKings. So that something about that kind of sparks my interest a little bit, and just kind of do your own research on that. But when you go through the rest of the pricing, you can see Matt Neesmith way down here. A lot of these guys are pretty cheap, but we'll come back to this in a second and do a couple builds. I wanted to go down the line a little bit on the model rankings, just to see if anybody stands out in the higher odds. But you can see JJ Spawn's playing pretty good golf. Eric Cole, a guy that just puts the lights out when he's on his game. Down here a little further, Mac Messner obviously had some really good finishes. Johnny Vegas, recent win. Down a little further, Matt Kuchar been competing decently, but I'm not really sure I would go his route. Patrick Fishburne might be an interesting young guy to look at. Hayden Springer's had some really good results lately. These guys are going to be your price range guys that you're going to be looking for in the mid sevens and the high sixes. I don't know that I'd be dipping down way down, but a lot of these guys, the odds are pretty good. Like Neesmith that I just mentioned was that cheap price. He's 110 to 1, ranking 7th in the model. Not that I think Matt Neesmith can win this golf tournament, but I mean 110 to 1, especially if you get that each way, like some books offer, wouldn't be a bad idea to go. Further down, I wanted to find one or two more guys that might be like a cut maker way down here. Of course, Joel Damon. I don't know if that's a guy that I would be messing with. He just, whenever Joel Damon's back's up against the wall and he needs to finish well, he seems to be able to put it together to do so. But like Ches Reavie, ranking 35th in the model, and like I just mentioned earlier, that's not too awful bad. We know Ches has had a really rough stretch. Let's take a brief look at what Ches has been up to and why he's ranking up here. Because the putter, he's definitely more of a West Coast guy. So this is West Coast swing time, and he's better on the POA mix. Obviously, missing 2 cuts in a row, putted his way out of the Wyndham. He's not a big time birdie fest guy like the Wyndham. And the 3M, he's in over his head because he's just not a bomber. So I can forgive those. But then you got the IceCo where he finished 10th. So that's just a course where he can strike it really well. So I'm not saying go play Ches Reavie, but just maybe give him a look, and he might be able to make a cut for you. And he might be a ownership positive, so to speak. But we'll jump over to build that lineup in a minute. Kevin Chappell, I don't think I'm going there. 32. Ben Taylor might be halfway interesting. Don't know if anybody else is down here worth looking at, but this is just kind of the course preview overlook. Let's just build a quick lineup and get on out of here. So, what I was thinking is that obviously you can just bang out two 10K guys, and then you can still get down here and just and do like a one of the cooties. I believe that's Parker Cootie, right? Yeah, it's Parker and Pearson, and they seem to alternate playing well. Like Parker was playing better than Pearson there for a while. And I guess it was a while back, but I mean, he was making a few cuts here and there, and I guess it's in this range. But man, he's really fallen off the map. So I definitely wouldn't be going. He definitely got the cooties of the two guys, but like Brandon Wu is down here. Baddeley has got some decent course history here. He can get it done sometimes. Lipsky is a guy I don't really trust a whole lot with the putter, things of that nature. I don't know that I would dip this far down, but you really don't have to go that far to get back in the mix here. So you just need to go a few hundred. Bud Colley, he's been back on turf for a minute, but he hasn't really gotten there yet. Kevin Tway might be an interesting former winner here. I don't know that he's a guy I would trust a whole lot, but if you find a guy in here like we'll just say we'll go with Ches. Since we were talking about Ches, we'll put Ches in, and then that brings you right back up to that 7,600, and then you can go. Well, there's Pearson. Let's see what Pearson's looking at. So he's been making cuts. He got the T2 at the Ice Co. And not really great finishes, but he makes a lot of birdies. So we'll just go Pearson Cootie. And then now you're right back up to 7,800. So you can go on from there and then build a couple of good ones. There's Thor Bornson, you know. So I don't think after doing that, I don't recommend, and I'm not going to do it, is going double up way up top. But one of these three guys is going to be in play. Depends on who you want. If Homa gets squeezed out, you could play him, and then you can just dip down into this lower range. I might even just play Corey Connors or Mav McNeely, somebody like that. Maybe even just skip the 9K range altogether. That's sometimes an option. You could just go right to Eric Cole, and this is going to be like a real weirdo lineup here as we go down. And just looking at these names, it's just really this 8K range is just disgusting. KH Lee, maybe. Shipley is a pretty good baller himself. So just for time's sake, we'll say Johnny Vegas has been playing well and he bombs it. So we like them bomber types. And then you can go down here and I do believe I mentioned one Neesmith. Where did Neesmith go? There he is. Matt Neesmith, and now you're up to 8,200. Get up in here a little bit. And then you can actually get one more. We'll say for some reason, I think Keith Mitchell, his putter's just been destroying him. But he's kind of come around in a little bit in that category. Brendan Todd's interesting. So let's go Mav. And then you got 7K left. And then that can put you right around here in this high 6K range. Should be some solid guys in here for you. That's the lineup I more recommend. So that's going to wrap up the show. Best of luck this week. Join that Billy Ho contest, sub to the channel, smash the like. Until next time, we will see you soon.